What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Around the Fell, continuing our mini-series, breaking down each team from the 2024 season, discussing their offseason. Today, we have the Green Bay Packers, and joining me is, of course, Reagan, and our good friend, Pat, diehard cheesehead. Pat, how you doing, buddy?
Yes,
Thank you for
sir.
joining the pod.
Yeah, I'm doing well, guys. Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Pat, we are so happy to have you here.
Yeah, man, glad I could make it. Glad I could make it to talk some ball.
Yes, let's do it. I mean, hey, you guys had a very interesting season, to say the very least, but you definitely, one thing I can say for you guys, you definitely came out on top with that Rodgers trade.
Yeah. I mean, definitely good to be on the side of that trade. But, I mean, I feel like the season, it was about as I expected it to go. Just still problems with youth. That's the only thing I think that's really keeping us back right now is just relative inexperience compared to the next guys. I mean, you look at a team like the Eagles, we're structured kind of similar to them, with multiple receivers that can break out. A beast of a running back kind of guy. Difference is that they're just doing it better than we are, plain and simple. So it's what it is. We'll get there in the next couple of years. I'm liking where we're going right now. Defense is looking better, finally flying around the ball, getting turnovers and all that. So I don't know. We're going in the right direction. Tough division, though. We'll see how the NFC North shakes up, but that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of grade would you give him?
Yeah, what grade would you give him? An 11-6 season, losing in the wild card round to the Eagles, the eventual champs. It's a pretty successful season, but you probably thought before the year that the Packers were going to be a playoff team.
Yeah, that would be like a B+ of a season. We won the games that we were pretty much supposed to win. Lost the games that it was like, those toss-up, maybe we win them in the long shot, but you're not getting over that hump right now, not with this team. So we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, I might be a little more harsh than you. I gave him a B-. Like, yes, you did win the games you were supposed to win, but you couldn't win any of the games that you were against the good teams.
Yeah,
you never got it done. You consistently struggled against the contenders. Where last year, you went into the playoffs, you beat Dallas, who, last year I would consider a contender. And then you went toe-to-toe with the 49ers, where you could say, like, arguably you should have won that game. So I felt like they took a step back where a lot of people had high expectations. I thought it was a team that could be competing for the Super Bowl, but
yeah, well,
you just couldn't beat the Lions or the Vikings once.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, we were damn near close to getting swept by our entire division, actually, with that one field goal block that we had to beat Chicago.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
Take that away, we're going 0-6 against everyone else, and you can't really make too much of an argument for that. But I think the entire season, everyone was just kind of waiting for Jordan Love to have that mid-season snap like he did last year. Last year against the Lions for that Thanksgiving game, he just went crazy, and after that, never looked back, and became the MVP basically the second half of the season. That just never happened this year. So inexperience, baby steps, but that's what you're going to get. You see a lot of these games that come down to the end of it, just not being able to close it out, not going the extra step that the veterans can go. So we'll get there.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, Reagan. I gave him a B-. Certainly a lot of positives to take from the season. I mean, I thought they were going to be a playoff team. You won a playoff game last year, so same boat here. You took a step back. I think the Josh Jacobs ad, which no one really expected them to add a high-end running back like Jacobs in free agency and letting Aaron Jones walk, but clearly it paid off for him. Jacobs was an absolute beast. They kind of transformed their offense to be very run-heavy. And I like their receiver core. I think they have a lot of solid dudes, but I think they clearly need a number one target, and I think that's why, like, DK Metcalf was getting floated around to Green Bay before he eventually got traded to Pittsburgh. Like, I think they're missing that on offense. But they were still the fifth total offense, the eighth scoring offense, right? And even Jordan Love was the 12th ranked passing offense. So they still got the job done.
Yeah.
And my big thing with Jordan Love is I like Jordan Love. I think he's a top probably 12 quarterback, I'd say. But the turnovers are a little alarming for me. He gets
the turnovers
a little
are crazy sometimes, dude. He'll be playing like the best quarterback, and then you'll get down, the stuff that would suck too is when you get to the other side of the 50-yard line, you think you have the momentum going, and then you're just, the most stupid throw decision you've ever seen. Like triple coverage or just not trying to take a sack. He goes down, throwing it straight to another guy's chest. Those are the really ones that are really frustrating for you.
Yeah, I mean, you love his gunslinger mentality, and he makes a ton of great plays. But I think now that he's got 2 years of starting under his belt, I think he'll get better as he goes throughout his career, and I think he'll start making smarter decisions. But all in all, I'm happy with Jordan Love. I know he loves the Toyota-thon. He really cooks at the end of the season, So I was riding the Toyota-thon Jordan Love train even this year. But I mean, it was still a solid year for Jordan Love for sure. It just wasn't as good as his year before.
And honestly, like the thing that impressed me most about the season, like offensively, I wasn't impressed, but defensively, Hafley definitely seemed to be, a huge rejuvenation of this defense that has a lot of first round picks and, guys that they went out and got in free agency, like McKinney obviously had, I don't know if he ended up leading the league in interceptions, but he was definitely up there. He was leading the league for most of the season, but he was a great signing.
Yeah, McKinney was awesome.
Packers have never had during Rodgers' tenure for the most part.
Right. Yeah. Good to see Green Bay go out and get someone, a big name in free agency too, bring in McKinney. So that was great. But I really like Hafley. He's what they do with his defense is they say that he lets kids react pretty fast while still running more complicated schemes that can confuse the offense. I'm pretty sure every defensive coordinator would like to say that that's what they'd like to do. But seems like that's really what Hafley is bringing to the table. A lot of the guys bought in. You'll see a lot of the interviews with the players saying that they really like his defense. Allows them to play free, all while going to the ball. Hafley wanted to lead the league in turnovers. I think what was he, like number 4 or something like that?
McKinney, let me pull that up.
Or not McKinney, no, Packers in general.
Let me pull that up. I know they were I know they were definitely up there.
Turnovers?
Yeah, let me pull that up because
as an entire defense, they were awesome. They were 5th in total defense, 6th in scoring defense, 7th in rush defense. Like certainly a much better unit compared to 2023. And you could see how, switching up the scheme a little bit can make a huge difference because the talent on that side of the ball, there's no doubt. They have so many first rounders invested, a ton of Georgia Bulldogs in that defense. Rashawn Gary's a stud. McKinney was awesome.
Fourth with 31 takeaways. They were in 4th with 31 takeaways. The Vikings were tied with the Steelers first with 33. So, one of the better teams. And then their differential as a team was plus 12, which would put them top 3 as well. So, we're just clearly making impacts on the defensive side of the ball. They just, to me, never fully got the offensive clicking.
We were fully kind of like a bend, don't break kind of defense too. It was, obviously with the turnovers, we're getting the ball over, but a lot of the times it was those kind of scary drives where you get towards, your own 40 or something like that. And then you finally get a pick and you can kind of take that deep breath. But
Alexander missed time too.
Yeah, Alexander. I think he's going to be gone. I don't think.
I think so too.
Yeah, the thing with Alexander, I really liked him. I love his personality. Everyone's got to love his personality. The whole job money stuff. He's a clown. But I started falling out of love with him. I don't know if you guys remember. It was a couple of years ago. He was going out to do the captain's handshake line or whatever, the handshake for the coin toss. And he goes out. We were playing the Panthers, and he goes out, even though he wasn't one of the appointed captains of that game. And they asked him about it later, and he was just like, "Oh, I guess coach ain't know that I'm from Charlotte." And we're like, "Dude, that doesn't mean that you're a captain, though, So.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, he did do that. And that, which is like, don't get me wrong, he's one of your better players, but if you're not a captain and then to be
no, I know, after that I was kind of like, all right, dude, like this guy does think he's all of it, and I kind of started kind of falling out of love with him, and then he started missing time. He's getting older. Obviously cornerbacks, their shelf life isn't too much, but it's missing time, missing plays, getting burnt on plays that he used to not get burnt when he was one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. So at this point, I think he's probably going to be asking for more than he's worth. Let him go. Maybe get someone into draft. I don't know. Make some free agents moves. We'll see. But I think it's just going to end up being easier to cut him and let him walk in the long run.
Yeah, I saw some teams were interested in trading for Alexander, but there's still a good amount of money in that deal. So no one's taken the bait yet.
Right.
But it's also, it could be like during the draft, Jaire could get traded too. You know what I mean? I think he'd probably fetch a 3rd round pick, maybe.
I would think so. And it'll be interesting to see what we do in the draft too. If we go for like a cornerback type player first round, and we've liked to do that in the past too. However, I think it was like 7 out of 10 of the last recent drafts or something like that. We've been drafting defensive guys in the first round. I mean, obviously, there's that big stat about us never drafting skill guys for Rodgers while he was there. But anyways, we'd like to get a bunch of defensive guys in the first round. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a cornerback in the first. In the second, if we end up taking a receiver, maybe. Because we're going to have Christian Watson out for, if not all of it, the majority of next year because he had that torn ACL.
Yeah, that's
right. Let's be honest. I mean, I don't know if he's your future going off of just the fact that he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I mean, he's talking about a person that's injury prone. Christian Watson's like he's been,
And now that speaking of that, it sounds like we're kind of segueing into next season. I mean, where do you want them to go in the draft? You want them to go corner? You're saying, or maybe a skilled guy. Are there any free agents? I think they're kind of out on free agency at this point. We kind of know where all the dominoes are going, but so it's more draft oriented at this point. But are there any prospects you're falling in love with that you'd love to see the Packers take at 22?
I mean, I'm
sorry, 23.
I just saw, what's the guy's name? Will Johnson, is that it from Michigan?
Yes.
That cornerback? Yeah.
Which it does seem like he might be falling. I don't know if he'll fall to you at 23, but, Green Bay, looking at it, it's pretty interesting. It seems like they own all their picks this year, and they have an extra 7th, but they really didn't trade a lot of their picks away. So, I could see them making a move, especially if he starts to slide down, if cornerback is a position. Will Johnson's a stud.
Mm-hmm. The Packers, I mean, we've been pretty good at drafting over the last however many years. So,
definitely, especially at the quarterback position. Seems like seems like when you do it, it hits.
That's what we're going to do in the draft. I'm not really worried about that there at all. I mean, even if we were to trade away Jaire for a couple more draft picks, I'd be happy with that because our front office does draft well. So, if we're going to roll the dice with draft picks, I'd welcome them. But I would go cornerback first round. And I mean, if there's a good one available, and then if not, wide receiver, I think are the top 2 probably. But it's going to be interesting because you can also get a wide receiver cornerback in the free agency market anyways too. So we'll see what happens between now and the draft if we end up signing some wide receiver.
I will say though, I feel like where you guys are at and the way that all the reports are saying, some of these wide receivers are going to be there and slide. Like there is a chance. I don't think it would be crazy. And Colin, you might agree with me on this, but from all the reports we're hearing, it sounds like Tet's going to drop, Burden's going to drop. So there's a chance, when you guys come up at 23, you may have the chance to take the first wide receiver, unless you consider Travis Hunter a wide receiver, which he's more of a hybrid to me. So it sounds like there is a world where you guys have your choice of all the wide receivers outside of Hunter at 23.
Right.
Which we've seen before. I mean, going back to the Zay Flowers JSN draft, like none of them were taken until
and they all went in a row.
Early 20s. So
pick 20 and they all went in a row.
So we've seen it before. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if it's a similar feat to this year. I mean, Colin, what would you like to see them do?
If that ends up happening and wide receivers slide down to the Packers, why not? We're going to need them anyways. So while they're there.
Well, I think the Packers have made their big signings in free agency, adding Aaron Banks, the guard, 4 years, $77 million. So an offensive line that was already very solid. I think that might have been a slight overpay for Banks after looking like what Fry's got and, some other guys like Zeitler, some other veterans in the market. But, hey, I mean, the offensive line was already good, and they just added another piece to it. So I like that. And they did sign Nate Hobbs, the corner, to a 4-year, $48 million. So that's one guy. I think wide receiver would make a lot of sense, and I think you could have a guy like a Matthew Golden who ran a 4.29 and has a great route runner, and that would make a lot of sense.
And I think like that would make complete sense too, because you're taking over Christian Watson's role. He was that primary, X receiver that was all the way split out. That was our speed guy. So we're going to need someone that can actually take the top off instead of another slot guy that we could just throw in there and kind of just take some more loads, or take a load of receiver targets, but. Yeah, I don't know.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously we love Jaden Reed, former Spartan, right? But Reed was a little inconsistent, I would say, this year. He had some monster games, and then he was really quiet for some other games. So, like, you definitely need another presence in that room. But, I mean, how many times do we talk about the Packers, like, drafting a receiver in the first round, and they never seem to do it, right? So, I think they're going to go with a DB, and I think they're going to get, Jahdae Barron, the corner from Texas, the Jim Thorpe Award winner last year, getting a lot of buzz right now. I've seen him as high as I think he's number 10 or 11 on Matt Miller's from ESPN's big board, overall prospects, and he's got some versatility. Like, he's a dog. And I think he just kind of seems like a Packer to me.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, dude, I'd be happy to get him. I don't know. Like I said, Packers have been good drafting anyway, so I'm really not worried about the draft, man. You know, our front office is going to hold it down, and we'll be all right coming out of it. Yeah, I mean, free agency so far, I haven't been mad at all about it. Re-signed Brandon McManus too. That was a good deal.
Yep.
Well, so far, I mean, I think we're going in the right direction for next year. Things are looking good. Not really too much that I have to complain about. I mean, as far as we could go, I don't think there are any moves that we made or didn't make that I was kind of pissed off about one way or the other, you know?
Yeah. And you definitely look at this roster like as it stands right now, and it's like, you know what? You don't have any like major holes that are like red flags, right? It's a solid roster where you're in a position at pick 23 to just kind of go the best player on your board, I think. Like, you can go a lot of different routes with the pick. It's not like you have to force something. You know, could you use a receiver? Yes. But if you have a defensive lineman that's very high on your board that's sliding, that shouldn't be there, like Mykel Williams or Shamar Stewart, like you could make that pick and just add another guy to that defensive line, which is strength.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. We're in a really good spot. It is nice to be in that. I don't think too many teams are able to say that they have that kind of base around their team, you know, where they don't really have any huge holes that they have to, you know, 1,000% address. So that's nice.
Yeah.
And like you
I
said,
mean, it's
just work on buttoning up everything, you know, getting spots better one player at a time kind of deal. So
it's definitely a playoff roster, right? It's just how much is Jordan Love going to grow? How far can he carry you, right? Like when you get to that postseason, it's like he's got to, when it's the clutchest moments, he's got to live up to it, right? Because the roster's good enough to make a Super Bowl run. Absolutely. So how good can Jordan Love be?
What's interesting too about this offense is a lot of these guys came in their first year, second year guys, the same year that Jordan Love is in his first year, you know? So you have all of these guys that aren't just, you know, it's not like there's just a new quarterback that's on the block, you know, it's this new quarterback on top of literally an entire new offense. So it's not like Jordan Love's taking a step. It's like the entire offense takes a step at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
I think there's with that kind of thing, there's just greater potential for even, you know, more growth in the offseason compared to another team where it's, you know, it might be like mellowed out kind of deal. But when you have this kind of setup, you know, you wouldn't be surprised if you see some kind of like crazy offseason growth now that these guys are working together extra year.
Absolutely.
And that chemistry built up, you know, those little nuances that you would see Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams do all the time, you know, where it seems like they're just on the same page. That's hopefully after this year is where we're going to see that Jordan Love, you know, Romeo Doubs connection, if it's not already there, you know, like those back shoulder passes and all that.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to need to, because nothing of what we saw last year makes me think that they're going to take that next step. So, yeah, you can get some of these free agents. And I'm not trying to be a hater here, but, you know, after watching last season, there's not a lot for me to think that they've done enough moves this offseason that they're in the same caliber of the Lions or the Vikings yet. I mean, and the fact that the Bears, with how bad they were, you know, you almost go 0-2 against them.
I push back on that. Minnesota, they're going to roll with J.J. McCarthy. The dude's never played an NFL snap. Like,
what I mean? Yeah, I mean, we're saying that now. We don't know that for certain. I mean, there's reports that they'll bring in other guys, but even you're right. But even
if they get I mean, do we think Minnesota's going to win 14 games next year?
I'm just saying no, but I mean,
I think Green Bay, Minnesota,
they might not win 14 games, but it's still like, I'm not going to sit here and just be like, yeah, like they lost Darnold and J.J. McCarthy's not going to be the guy and the Packers are going to pass them. Like, until the Packers can go and beat them, I'm not going to give them their flowers and be like, well, with all the Vikings losses, like we can certainly move them up. I think the Vikings are still sick on defense. And we saw they put a lot of money into the offensive line this offseason. They still got Jettas. They still got Addison Hawkinson. You know, they just traded for Jordan Mason, who's very dynamic. We saw what he was able to do with San Francisco, and they brought Aaron Jones back. So to sit here and not give Minnesota their flowers, I can't do it. Like, there's a world where McCarthy doesn't work out.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying Green Bay is in that tier with Minnesota right now because of the major question mark at quarterback for Minnesota. There's no doubt Minnesota's roster is very fucking good. We just had the conversation where they could be a top 5 roster on the free agency pod. But when you bring in a quarterback that hasn't played,
they brought in Sam Darnold last year and won 14 games. I'm not too worried. Like, I don't think the NFC. I think JJ McCarthy's going to be a stud.
You know Jordan Love's good. You know he is. You don't know.
And I know Kevin O'Connell's great because I saw him turn Sam Darnold into a 14-win.
So was LaFleur.
I understand that. So is LaFleur.
Detroit's above them, but I don't think you could say Minnesota is as it stands right now.
I think you can until
I think the NFC North is going to end up shaking up almost exactly like it did this year. I think it's going to be Detroit at the top.
I think Chicago will be better. There's no way Chicago's not better, though.
Chicago will be better by like 2
I mean,
games.
they're going to win more than 5 games, but someone's going to miss the playoffs in this division, right? Someone just has to.
Yeah. I think
it might be 2.
I think it's going to be another logjam at the top, and Chicago is going to be around 500 or so, but we'll see.
But yeah, Dave, you want to come in? I think it's good to get another good.
Yeah, let's get Drock in here, baby. It's question.
Whoa! Here comes Drock. Drock's here.
The Drockster.
All right. Well, you guys really asked. You really answered my other question, so I'm gonna shoot another one at you guys. Question for you guys: has the Packers' decision to move on from Aaron Rodgers officially justified, or is Jordan Love still too inconsistent to be the long-term answer?
I think it's justified.
I think it's officially justified no matter what Jordan Love has to do anyway. Jordan Love could have fallen off the face of the earth and this move would have been justified right now. With what we've seen out of the Jets over the last 2 years, granted, obviously, last year we got 4 snaps. But yeah, I think at this point you don't even have to justify it with anything good that Jordan Love has been doing. You can just say, look at what Aaron Rodgers has done over the last couple of years and tell me it wasn't a good move. So.
Well, it was absolutely a good move. I mean, Rodgers, it was a train wreck in New York. You moved off of him at a point where maybe people were like, you know what, maybe you keep him for another year. Like, he just won a couple MVPs. Like, he still got it. But, then he got hurt, and it was tough for him to come back, and it didn't work out. But Jordan Love was on the bench for so long where it's like, you know what, you use the first-round capital on him. At some point, you see what you got. So I think they moved off of Rodgers at the perfect time, and clearly the trade ended up being a win for them.
I think so, too. I completely agree.
I will say, I still think Rodgers would have done I think he would have been better if he stayed with the Packers. I don't think he would have been as bad as he was for the Jets. I mean, obviously you can't predict the injury.
Yeah.
I agree.
But I still think that much. And I would say, I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, he's been there for so long. Eventually you had to play him, and they had to make that decision on the 5th-year option, because how can you justify picking up his 5th-year option if you've never really seen him play outside of a few fill-in games here and there? Like, I remember he subbed in for Rodgers with COVID and brief stint. So you had to know either way.
Absolutely.
But, one more question from Walmart. Sorry. His question is, fuck the Packers. What's the free agency move you like the least?
Ooh, that's different.
That is, I don't know why he's such a Packers hater.
They're similar.
He's a Commanders fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned earlier, I think Aaron Banks is a solid guard. I just think they paid a lot of money for him. Like, I think they overestimated how the guard market was going to play out. So, although I don't hate the signing, I think it was just an overpay, to be honest with you. And I don't think they needed another guard necessarily.
Yep.
Were there any ones you didn't like, or you're chilling with them all?
You talking about Packers or in general?
No, Packers. He wants to know, were there
letting AJ Dillon walk?
Letting AJ Dillon walk had to happen. I wasn't at all, dude.
He's good. The guy just can't get in from the 2-yard line. It's like, bro, look at you. You're a monster. How do you not get in?
Dude, seriously, yeah. So I didn't even know that AJ Dillon had walked until I saw some other whatever team he got picked up by,
Eagles
with him. Yeah, okay.
The Quads,
Twitter or something like that. Eagles posted a picture with him, and I was like, wait, what the fuck? When did this guy leave? I mean, I wasn't really pissed off one way or another. I mean, you talk about the overpay, but at the end of the day, I'm not really too worried. I don't know how much, honestly, we have in space right now anyways. But, getting McManus inked up for another, I want to say it was 3 years. That's a big deal. Really, I think our best players are young anyways that are still on their rookie contracts. So you don't have too much to do, but just give them time and see how they pan out, and then deal with actually getting them the real contracts, and seeing how you manage them going forward from there.
Are you happy Hobbs is back?
I'm happy about Hobbs. I mean, we're going to need a cornerback anyways now that Jaire's – I mean, I think getting him that's the writing on the wall that Jaire is about to get out of there, Last year for about an hour, the Packers had Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, and A.J. Dillon all in the same running back room. And we were like, all right, so someone's getting the short end of the stick here pretty soon. You knew that someone was getting out. And then sure enough, Aaron Jones was gone within the hour. So I think that signing is kind of like all right, here's our little transition time, and now we're about to show you the door.
Yeah. No, I mean, you guys didn't have the busiest free agency period. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, hey,
No, we never really do. I mean, last year obviously we got Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, but that's kind of an anomaly for the Packers.
yeah. No, but I mean, hey, we'll see. We'll see. The draft will be very telling for you guys. But I mean, anything else you fellas got?
I'm good on my end. Pat, any last words from the Packers fan?
Hey, I got nothing, man. I think we're liking what we're seeing. Team's progressing. Packers are smart fans. We understand how football works. It's not all just going to come in a straight line. The progress is going to go up and down and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people are riding the wave. I've been hearing a lot of good things from Packers fans about Jordan Love now. I think a lot of people are at first, last year they weren't really bought in. Now they're a lot more bought in, especially after the second half of last season. Still kind of the same rhetoric. We'll see if he can take that full step, but more time and more chemistry with those receivers. Why not? I'm feeling good about it. So that's where I'm at.
Absolutely. Packers fans are great too. You could argue the nicest fans in
The
the
nicest,
entire
dude.
league.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Pat's a fucking douche. What are you talking about?
No. I mean, my pops was at the NFC Championship in 2007 when Corey Webster picked off Brett Favre in overtime. And my dad said Packers fans were shaking our hand, congratulating us like we were on the team. Like they were very, very kind people. So the cheeseheads have a good rap, and we like our cheeseheads. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. They'll congratulate you like you had that game-winning interception.
I do not like the cheeseheads as a Jet fan. They give us their quarterbacks once they're washed. I'm good.
Yeah.
You can keep Jordan Love. I don't want him. In 20 years, Pat. Keep him to yourself.
Right.
That's fair.
You see if Aaron Rodgers went to the Vikings, dude, and he completed the Brett Favre part.
Oh, we're almost there.
Like there's no
that would
chance.
be awesome, dude.
There's
That would be awesome.
There's a chance.
All right, that wraps it up. But Packers fans, drop a comment as well. Let us know where you want them to go in the draft. But Pat, once again, thank you for coming on, and
for sure, guys. Yeah,
we'll see you. Will they see you for the NFL draft? We're going to be doing an NFL mock draft podcast where we're thinking of asking you to be the Packers team. Would you?
Yeah. Would you like to be the GM of the Packers?
Yeah. No, that sounds dope.
Let's go.
Great. There we go.
Yeah, dude.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Right,
we'll see you next time.
Yeah, man. All right.